Every last one of us who feels a certain way is choosing to feel that way about whatever it is.
Wait, are you gaslighting us on purpose?
Gaslight, I don't know what that means. That's a new age word.
Hey, let's say I'll just go with my ex-spouse. Whenever I was feeling like he was rejecting me, I would try to sit down and tell him, and he would look at me and tell me, well, you shouldn't be feeling that way. You're stupid. Okay. But tell me why I'm feeling this way.
I would definitely move off of my emotions, because emotions have a psychological validity, even when it doesn't have a logical validity. So I'm basing it off of my experience.
You need to insert context here, moderator. You need to insert context here.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, you talking about the comment?
Context. You need to insert context.
You see what you started, Enos? I'm not messing with you no more, man.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but your feelings are valid. If you feel a certain way, there's a reason you feel that way. But to a narcissist, they will invalidate your feelings and call you sensitive. They will say that you make a big deal out of something. They will try to invalidate your feelings. They will call you crazy or something like that, all right? Because they don't want to give you any kind of power and control. Instead, they're going to rip down your character and everything like that. So recognize that if you're feeling a certain way, you're angry, you're depressed, you're sad, or anything like that, you're valid in how you feel. And nobody should tell you that there's something wrong with you because you're feeling that way for a reason.
On to feelings. Let's talk feelings. Are feelings valid, right? We're talking about emotions. We're talking about in the moment feelings. Are they valid and why? Will, are feelings valid and why?
You talking about relationships or just life in general?
Just your feelings. Anybody that feels anything at a certain time, are they validated? Are they valid?
Yeah. Always, man.
Okay.
Like the hot boys say, man, respect my mind. I got to respect yours. If you feel a way, then let's get it out in the open. I think that comes before the communication, don't it? The feeling about something is going to come before the actual vocalization. So yeah, I'm expressing what I feel, and I think a lot of people should. And
I think we're gonna get into the whys. We're just doing yes and no's right now.
Hold on,
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, definitely valid, man.
All right. So Will says yes, feelings are valid. Miss Candy, how do you feel? Feelings valid or not?
Yes, definitely.
You think they are valid? Okay, So we got 2 yeses. Miss Crystal, how do you feel?
Yes, they are.
They are valid. Aki, how you feel? Feelings valid, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Miss Taylor?
Yes.
You gonna keep it a clean sweep? He's gonna mess it up. I already know. I see the smile on your face. Feelings valid or no?
No.
Come on, man. Are the feelings valid? Enos.
Yeah, no. Feelings are not valid.
Enos said they're not valid. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. We got 1 no with Enos, and I'm gonna go ahead and get over here with my man's Enos and say they are not valid. All right, so let's start with Enos. Enos, you start off. Why do you think they're not valid? And we're gonna have everybody give a little bit of a rebuttal. Why are feelings not valid?
Because valid, the definition of valid is lined in with the reason and the logic. Feelings are subjective. It's not objective. Feelings are more internal, and you can't verify or base internal facts on your feelings. You got to base facts and the validity on external facts. So that's why.
Okay, so Eno says the reason that feelings are not validated is because typically they are not based in any sort of logic and or reason. And oftentimes they are fleeting. So let's start with
first, let me give an example to give more clarity to what I'm saying.
Okay.
One example of my whys is you could feel anxious. Say if you're in an area, you feel anxious, you feel like it's a threat. Doesn't mean it's a threat. That's what you feel. You don't have external facts to prove if it's a threat. You can use facts. You can say, oh, this person may have a gun, maybe using a certain type of language that promotes violence. Those things you can actually observe and test if it's valid.
Please insert
Things
context.
that's
I'm
internal,
sorry.
you can't test it and verify.
You need to insert context here, moderator. You need to insert context here.
Yeah.
Oh no. Are you talking about the comment?
You know, context. You need to insert context.
If you're talking feelings regarding relationship, or are you talking feelings just in everyday life?
Right.
Because now, like what Enos is saying, then I would say no. But when you're in a relationship and you're feeling some type of way because of how your spouse is treating
I think that rule still applies, Candy. That's that in a relationship too. I think it applies.
So just so we're clear, and I did clarify, I gave context when I asked the initial question is feelings in general. When Will asked if they were talking about relationships, I clarified at that point that we just talking about feelings in general.
Okay.
All right. Miss Candy.
Okay.
Go ahead and do you have a rebuttal for what Eno says for his no? You said you think feelings are valid.
Yes.
Okay.
Feelings are very valid because first of all, you got to look at, and I do see what he's saying, the factual. Why am I feeling this way? What is it that, let's say I'll just go with my ex-spouse. Whenever I was feeling like he was rejecting me, or, I would try to sit down and tell him, and he would look at me and tell me, well, you shouldn't be feeling that way. You're stupid. Okay. But tell me why I'm feeling this way. Explain to me. I'm trying to tell you why I feel this way, but you're not listening. So feelings are very valid, but you explain, but there is okay, what is causing me to feel this way? Something's making me feel this way.
So Enos would say, and Enos, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is your feelings are not valid if they're not based on actual reasons. So when you bring them to your husband, and if he's saying that those don't align with what's actually happening, do you think that should now be an internal conversation before you bring it to your man?
What, you talking to me or Enos?
No, I was saying Enos can say whether or not I'm representing his question right now, but that question was to you, Candy. So Enos would say that the feelings are not valid because they may or may not be based in actual reality. Those are internal feelings that you had, and you are putting your feelings and the whys that you're having those feelings on another individual. Is that pretty accurate, Enos?
Yeah, that's accurate.
How do you feel about that, Candy?
Okay, so if I'm feeling this way and I'm explaining to him why, this is what he's doing. This is factual evidence of you're doing this, this, and this, and this is making me feel this way. So that's what I'm saying. That's a valid reason for me to say this is why I feel this way, because I'm giving him valid examples of what he's doing to make me feel this way. And it would be up to him to turn around and say, but you're interpreting that, or your perception of what I'm doing is wrong. You see what I'm saying?
So it's up to debate. If you,
it's a conversation that you have to have.
Okay.
But to me, you don't tell somebody they shouldn't be feeling that way.
Okay.
Unless you have a reason. That's what I'm saying, because we all have certain feelings,
Okay, let's talk to Miss Crystal. Crystal, you said feelings are valid. Based on the conversation between Enos and what Candy said, how do you feel about that? You still agree that they are valid?
I do agree that they're valid. Now, trying to find a basis of whatever feeling you're having, I think that's valid as well. So I can see both sides. I can definitely see what he's saying. I can definitely see what she's saying. So, what example he used that I can't think of right at this second, but he was talking about feeling anxious. well, trying to find the root cause of the anxiousness, you're still going to feel that way, but why? Why are you feeling that way?
So before we move on, I want to ask the question: when you're talking about the whys, is that not an internal conversation, or should someone else be able to answer the why?
No, to me, it would be an internal conversation with myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not external.
That's not external, right? That doesn't have nothing to do with the individual that you're telling. And I also want to caveat this real quick, because I did throw my lot in with Eno, so we on this side of the fence. Our ranks are slim, but I want to put this out there. When you guys are saying certain things about your feelings and emotion, I noticed that we use a word and it says, this is how you made me feel. This is how that makes me feel. This is how I want to point out that no one is making you feel these ways, right? You don't have a switch. None of us do. None of us have an emotional switch that can be toggled on at any given time. Every last one of us who feels a certain way is choosing to feel that way about whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Purpose? Wait, are you gaslighting us on purpose?
Gaslight, I don't know what that means. That's a new age word.
Oh,
I'm just clarifying the word made. Because a lot of people use that and they give that power to another individual, when in reality, going back to what Eno says, that's not based in logic or reason.
Yeah.
If you choose not to feel like that, you can, right? That happens every day. And I'll give you an example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. What you really feel like doing is running their car off the road and getting out and getting to it. A lot of us don't do that because we're using logic and reason in our decision-making process every day. Right, I'm using forethought. What is that going to get me? When you
talk about logic and reason, now you're talking about feelings, and logic and reason are all three different things.
Right, I'm actually explaining the difference between the two, Aki. I'm saying you feel a certain way when that person cuts you off in traffic, but you utilize logic and reason to.
Some people do and some people don't. Did you see that guy got run off the road in a motorcycle the other day?
Yeah. I'm, and that's actually a perfect example, because what I'm saying is it's a choice. That person made a choice to run them off the road. That person's not the only person that's ever been cut off or bothered by somebody on a motorcycle. He made a conscious choice based on his feelings.
Can I please say something? And I'm going to say this in all.
Well, let me finish my point real quick. Let me finish my point, and I'm gonna get to you. I promise you. The feelings is not something that we don't have any control over, right? It's not something that someone else can make you do. You're choosing to feel what you feel, and you're making your decisions based off of your feeling. And that's a more accurate representation of how feelings work.
No, right, so. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Go ahead, Aki.
The reason why you're wrong is that you're trying to justify gaslighting somebody and making their
gaslighting.
Well, hold on. Hold on. Because what you're saying is that you don't respect somebody's boundaries, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that you don't respect the person. Is when somebody is in their feelings about something and they express to you how they feel, and you say your feelings are not valid. Basically, you're saying that you don't respect their boundaries. That's not right.
Preach.
You should not be doing that.
Yes.
Now, because I'm the moderator, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm going to say that's not actually what I said.
That's what you said.
That's a very loose interpretation and entirely inaccurate. But real quick,
it's not entirely. When you talk about feelings, hold on a second, because I want clarity here. When you talk about feelings, okay, this question that you asked was convoluted on all sides, okay, because we didn't understand whether you were talking about in a relationship, just feelings in general. If I'm in a fire, right, and you are like, Aki, come on, and I'm standing there, and you go, Aki, snap out of it. Those are my feelings of being stuck. You are invalidating my feelings of being caught in a fire. That's one thing. But if I tell you, hey, you know what? I don't respect the fact that you disrespect when I tell you that I don't like when you treat me this way. And then you tell me your feelings are invalid. That's disrespectful.
Yes. So it goes, but so it's two different things. What we're talking about is definitely two different things.
So real quick, I just want to So one of our watchers, one of our viewers, Bree Nicole, put up the definition of valid. So validation, by definition, is based on logic
Shout out to
and
Bree
or fact.
Nicole. Somebody.
So I didn't make that definition up.
Can I say
I didn't
something?
create it. I also didn't put it up. But what I'm saying is, valid does not mean that your feelings are not important. They're not real to you, right? Valid has nothing to do with those. Valid actually, by definition, goes into, is it logical? Are you using sound reason when you're basing your decisions off of that emotion? Now, that's why I said what I said. Because a lot of people say, well, you made me feel like this. One has the power to make you feel that way. That was my point.
All, English is a very difficult language to interpret, okay? We have Webster definitions of words, and then we have societal definitions of words, okay? Desert and dessert, they both spell the same, but they mean two different things, okay? Listen, you can go now. You can also go to the Urban Dictionary and say what the Urban Dictionary says about the definition of a word. Okay, we're not doing that here. We're talking about real people and real situations where
we definitely are.
We're not talking about Webster.
Here on the podcast about logic and reasoning, we 100% are. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Real quick, I want to keep it moving. I don't want to get stuck in this quagmire. You see what you started, Enos? I'm not messing with you no more, man. Victoria.
Oh my goodness. This is how I feel. I feel feelings. Okay. My grandma used to always, she's 95 years old. She's been living a long time. She said, your feelings are valid, but your feelings are not a fact. Because you can come to me and say, this is how I feel, but that may not necessarily mean this is what it is. So the reason why I say that is feelings provide important information about your needs, your boundaries, and your values. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying like Aki said,
these are my right?
Aki, right?
Aki, actually.
Aki. There we go. Aki. If he's feeling a certain way and you were in a relationship and he's telling me this is how I feel, and I'm gonna be like that doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. Your feelings don't mean anything to me. But what about his boundaries? What about his needs? What about his values in this relationship? I have to acknowledge that. You can acknowledge it. Doesn't necessarily mean you agree with it. Acknowledge it, and that deserves respect. So you respect that person enough to say, I acknowledge what you're saying.
Is not respect.
Now explain to me. Hold on. Let me finish.
Yes.
Tell me how I am offending you or hurting you in this particular instance, and I can tell you that's not what I meant. But to just dismiss it altogether.
Right.
What are we doing?
Hold on, real quick. I want to point this out.
Thank you.
Which one of our panel members dismissed feelings altogether by saying they're not valid? Because valid has a definition. I put it up again. Neither Enos or myself said that the feelings don't matter. We said they're not valid. So to that point, I also made the caveat. I clarified.
Tell that to your girl. Your feelings don't matter, and let's see what she'll say.
But again, we didn't say they don't matter. That's again, you guys can't keep putting words in Eno's mouth, right?
They do matter. Because listen, okay, if we're going to talk about scripture,
not the same thing.
We brought up scripture, right? We're talking about God. He was touched with the feelings of our infirmities. Why was he even here on earth? Because he knew we were in sin, we're doing our thing. We needed somebody to come down here and rescue us from our sinful ways. We were in our feelings doing us. And God was like, okay, wait, pause. Don't destroy him. I know you and your feelings. God, don't destroy him. Let me take on the sins of the world. Touch with our feelings of our infirmities. He took on the whole sins of the whole wide world. So we can sit up here and say, well, feelings don't matter. Okay, so then what's the point of why we do what we do?
Why
exactly? Hold on, real quick. I have to reiterate. I'm going to reiterate. Who said that feelings don't matter? Did you say that?
You just said it's not valid.
Okay, yes, valid.
Y'all said it.
No, exactly. I have to look up the definition of matter.
Yeah.
Valid, having a sound basis in logic or fact. I clarified that does not mean they're not important or that they don't matter. Some of our children are afraid of the dark, regardless of whether there's anything in the dark that is actually going to hurt them, i.e., not valid. that doesn't mean that you don't assuage those fears. That doesn't mean you don't get them a glow in the dark stuffed animal or nightlight, right? Valid and matter, two different things. So what y'all this is the Vulcan soapbox, right? And I'm just letting you know how we operate here. Things got definitions and we utilize those definitions. Words mean things. Matter and valid are not synonymous.
Right, but you validated their feelings by going to get the glow sticks.
Exactly.
No.
If not, we don't need glow sticks, baby. Go in there. There is no monster in there. Go in there, go to sleep. I don't care. Like, go to bed. It's not valid. There's no monster.
I could because the validation of it is there's nothing actually in there.
But
I'm assuaging that fear. I'm acknowledging that fear.
Thank you.
But acknowledging and validating are not the same. I'm trying to reason, guys. You can't just make up your own definitions for things.
Nah, I mean,
come on,
by definition, what we're looking at, it says having a sound basis in logic or fact. So it's almost making a differentiation between the two. I think if your feelings have a sound basis in logic, then that also has some validity to it as well, according to the definition. It's sound basic in logic or fact. I think that's kind of the irony of this question, man, being that it is the Vulcan soapbox, right?
Okay.
I do want to pose another question for Victoria.
Hold on.
Candy.
Let
my bad.
Go ahead, Will.
Oh no, I was saying, man, with it being the Vulcan soapbox, and when we used to watch Star Trek, that's pretty much what Spock being the Vulcan, yeah, no doubt. Spock was based in the logic, the facts, the mathematics, the coordinates. Spock was like, yo, this is what it is. But Captain Kirk, dealt more with like the emotional side, having a hunch, the feelings involved. Spock was straight logic, facts, math. Yo, if the shit don't calculate, it is what it is. But Kirk was that wasn't him. He used his heart, his emotion, and those feelings that he had, and it worked out, for the best of the crew. Both of them worked off each other real well. You know what I mean? I mean, I've seen.
Let me get some comments because I don't want to alienate the viewers. Let me Lita Martins, she says expressing your feelings is one thing, acting on it is entirely on you. Has nothing to do with the other person. Help the Bear says, Victoria, we want to hear what you think. I think that was a little bit that was when they thought I was making you wait, Victoria. You're popular on the show. We're gonna get to you more often. Victoria is beautiful and her thought process is amazing, says AJ Hicks. Mastermind, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation.
Shout
out. All right, Help the Bear said she cooking, get off the ropes freshly. You got me there. Help the Bear also says, tell me how y'all raise y'all's kids without telling me. And then he also says, can y'all agree on the definition? Well, to answer that question, we don't agree on the definition of anything. It just is in a book already. We're just looking it up. Bree Nicole, matter, be of importance, have significance. So I want to point this out before we move on. Feelings mattering here. They're important. They have significance. Mm-hmm. Feelings valid, having a sound basis in logic or fact. Two different definitions, two different words, not synonymous. So when Eno says they're not valid, and I'm gonna let him get to it real quick. He's not saying they don't matter. He's not saying that they're not important. Is that accurate representation? Enos?
Yes, that I'm not saying. Well, say that one more time. Make sure.
I was saying that just because the feelings are not valid does not mean that they're not important or that they don't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. So I'm all of y'all basically said that Enos is a monster and he doesn't have any compassion and he don't know anything. So Enos, I'm gonna give you a chance to go ahead and defend yourself because they ain't on your top right now.
Yeah, and it's good to clarify. Shout out to Bree Nicole as far as the validity. And I gave the example earlier as far as somebody feeling anxious. Today we invited y'all to the show. It's one thing to be anxious about the showtime. And there's one thing if you actually can observe and test when the show. I mean, when we sent out the invites, you can verify what I sent out as far as the time, the message. You can't do that with your feelings. That's the difference between feelings versus external facts. Because external facts, you can actually test these things, you know? And y'all see this. But I want to ask y'all a question. Would y'all, if you are feeling anxious, would y'all base or make decisions when y'all feel or just leave it at anxious? Would y'all make decisions off of that?
I'll go first. Some people do who have anxiety do. I don't have anxiety, so I never do that. But some people who have anxiety or some type of mental illness or any type of social anxiety will do that. Or
So
they
you
will either
would you?
or they might procrastinate.
So you say yes or no?
Yes.
You would make a decision off anxiety, or
Some people do. Not me.
I mean, would you?
No,
Okay, why?
because I don't have anxiety.
All right, you guys, let's go with Victoria there.
Let me
Chris,
clarify
you
the question,
muted. You go
real
ahead,
quick.
Chico.
You asked if anybody here would make a decision based off emotion. I want to clarify and say, do you think it's right to make a decision based off of emotion? Would that be a good representation of your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So Aki said he would. Miss Taylor.
I did say anxiety though.
And my apology. Off anxiety.
I would say yes. I would definitely move off of my emotions because emotions have a psychological validity, even when it doesn't have a logical validity. So I'm basing it off of my experience. Mm-hmm. So if I know, that if I go this route and things happen, and that's just going to cause me to feel like I'm not going to go that route. I'm not going to do this because I've experienced it before. So I'm more cautious of how I move in life because I've experienced it before. So I don't want to experience that anymore. So does that mean I need therapy? Maybe. Does that mean that I may need to get over, issues and things like that? Maybe. But at the end of the day, that's my emotional, psychological, reasoning saying I'm not going to cross that path or go that route because of my experience.
Right, you got to think about. You know what I just noticed? I'm sorry, Victoria. That's not a good question because all those are individuals. We're different. We have different perspectives. I'd rather just ask you: would you want your doctor or judge to base their decision with your life?
Oh my God!
With emotions.
My doctor's gonna give me what he went to school for, but then he's gonna tell me, "Hey, Victoria, it's your choice. You get to do what you choose to do with it."
Yeah, but I mean, if he's operating on you, would you prefer him to base it off what he's feeling, or base it off external facts?
I would want him to base it off external facts, but at the end of the day, it's my body, and if I'm feeling like I don't want to go through surgery and I don't want to do it, guess what? I'm not going to do it.
Well, no, Victoria, just to clarify, you're already on the table. You're already on the table. You sprung a leak. Your doctor is
already on the table. I'm on the table. No, I did not agree to this.
No, well, you've already agreed to the surgery.
I signed the waivers that if I die, let me die.
It makes your doctor anxious, right? You sprung a leak somewhere you weren't supposed to spring a leak from. Your doctor's nervous.
You guys are trying to.
You want him to start doing stuff based off of how you feel about it.
Do they tell doctors not to think like that? Do they tell them don't operate on emotions? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're trained, just like military people, just like cops.
When they operate on emotion, Victoria, I'm saying basing
remove the emotions. They're trained to remove your emotional feelings out of it. You cannot be a soldier going in there scared and timid. Yes, you are feeling that, but you can't go in there and tell them that's how you're feeling.
So, Victoria, to clarify, you're saying it's good or right to make decisions based off of the emotion. Well, I'm not gonna off of anxiety if you're not in a profession that says that's wrong.
I think it's good to have anxiety. Did you not watch the movie Inside Out? A little anxiety was all over the place. And anxiety basically tells you, it's like a caution. It's like,
well, hold on real quick, because at the end of the movie, didn't they quiet anxiety down? Wasn't anxiety the problem?
They did, but anxiety, they needed anxiety. They didn't just cast her out and be like, "Oh, you're done. We're done with you." No, we all need that little bit of anxiety to be like. I mean, it's just who we are. It's a part of life. It's just gonna tell us, okay, that's caution. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't go there. Don't do that. Don't talk to that person. It's just giving us that little barrier where we're just not going. It's just going in blindsided. Oh my God, I'm just head over heels in love. This dude has red flags up the yin yang, and you're not going to have a feeling. It's that feeling in your gut that's telling you this ain't the one.
Okay. Candy, how do you feel, ma'am?
I am not going to make any decisions or do anything based off of emotion.
Okay.
In my profession, we can't. I deal with clients all day long. Some of them get irate, things like that. And whenever I'm sending an email, sometimes I have to sit back, get up, walk away, come back, and then send the email, or even have somebody else read it just to make sure I'm taking the emotion out if they've made me angry or anything like that. And going back to like the doctor and stuff like that, before you go into surgery and you have, let's say you're put under anesthesia, when you come out of anesthesia, and this just happened to me because I just had a procedure not too long ago, they tell you in the next 72 hours, do not make any decisions, do not sign any documents or paperwork, because you're not of good sound mind under anesthesia. Well, same thing with emotions. You have to take your emotions out before you make final major decisions in your life.
Okay. All right. Well put. Well said, Victoria. Will. And then we're gonna go Crystal. How
I
do you feel,
mean, man,
Will?
I feel like feelings themselves is how probably the majority of people walk through life and live their life. I'm not sure if most people practicing a particular faith is rooted in absolute facts and absolutes that can be proven all the way through. That's why there's so many debates and, believers or non-believers or, brothers who might subscribe to a different, type of belief that they govern everything else in their life, behind. And that's kind of how they set the structure for their understanding of how they move. And that's a feeling in itself. So everything after that, I think, comes along with what they learn and can observe. But it's kind of hard to convince people of, the non-validity of how they feel about, certain things. And it seemed like that's at its inception how we move, man. It's a feeling and a faith-based existence. We don't have all the answers. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So to clarify real quick, you saying that because it's how most of us operate, that's the right thing to do?
I mean, for me, I feel that it matters to who it matters to. You know what I mean? And I
What?
wouldn't dismiss. I can't dismiss what somebody may believe if they're a good person. I don't have the answer, so I'm open to
Okay.
listen to everybody myself personally.
Well,
But
let me ask this. Let me clarify. I'm not saying, and I don't think anyone's saying that feelings are not, they don't have their place. But the question is, are they valid? Are feelings valid based off of fact and reason? So there are things that don't have actual answers, right? There are things that are left up to how you feel, what you feel in the moment, your faith, right? There are those things, but there are also things that are facts, regardless of how you feel about them. Do you think that based on that, like, structuring of it, that feelings are valid? To go to Enos's questions, would you want your doctor or your lawyer or your judge making decisions in life based off of how they feel about certain things?
I was going to say, but sometimes judges do that. I mean, a judge can have a young man come into his court who was out here just doing the most,
100%. That's valid.
Selling drugs, shooting, whatever. And then he looks at the fact that his father wasn't there and his mother is dying of cancer and his young sister got molested and all this stuff. And then they put this before this judge or the lawyer and they're like, you know what? How about we send him to like a base camp or something where he can get, the help that he needs. He can get counseling. He can get this and that. They could have thrown him in jail
100%.
But sometimes they do take their feelings into consideration and say, you know what would I do if this was my son?
And I agree with that. I agree that sometimes
we
they
have
do.
to sometimes use our feelings.
Do we want that to be the rule, or do we want that to be the exception?
Of course not. It can be.
But when we talk about right or wrong, right? When we talk about what we want, right? The anomalies are the anomalies. Would you agree with that?
But the law is for the lawless. At the end of the day, if you out here committing stuff, if the law is for you. So I wouldn't say everybody need a pass or be just give the easier sentence. But at the end of the day, there are certain cases where kids need guidance, and sometimes they don't have that guidance. So
100%.
you have to move on your feelings and your emotions.
How do you feel about that, Will?
For me, man, I don't know, man, because I come from so many instances, and I've heard so many things. Like, number one, I believe that
in general? If you take it outside of your own personal experience, how do you feel about it in general?
In general, I think our bodies can be receptive sometimes to things that can't be explained, or people who say they knee hurt, so it's gonna rain. We're made up of the universe itself, and everything that's out there is inside of us. So when people say, yo, I smell it coming, I see it coming, I don't have that perception. Or the ladies that be like, yo, I dreamed of fishing, somebody pregnant. You know what I'm saying? I can't tap into that. I wish I could. Or people who say they see spirits or feel certain energies or play with them cards and stuff like that. Like, that might not be something that I can tap into, but to say that, is ruled out, or that I haven't seen people say something that happened, I can't say that, man. It have happened. So maybe there's a heightened level of physical perception that you can cultivate in certain ways.
Okay, so Victoria and Will
make damage.
They make a good defense or a good statements in favor of Crystal. I'm coming to you, Aki. We're gonna end with you. Crystal, how do you feel? What do you think? Are feelings valid? Would you want your doctor or your judge making decisions based off of how they feel?
Well, I'm a nurse, and I cannot do what I'm doing based on my emotions. Am I human, and do they factor into how I maybe deal with my patient? Yes, but I cannot. I cannot base what I'm doing and the care that I'm giving based on my emotions of my patient.
Okay, good answer. Very concise. Aki, what you got, sir?
Do you guys remember those 737 MAX planes that were falling out of the sky because of the MCAS system? Do you remember those? 737 MAX, like 4 of them fell out of the sky because Boeing put a new system in that was supposed to help the planes not over do this whenever they're going up in the air, and the system would detect that the plane was over pitching when it wasn't, and then force the nose of the plane down. Okay, there was an Egyptian airline or Ethiopian airline plane that crashed, a Malaysian one that crashed.
Right, we remember those.
Huh?
What's that you say that to say?
I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay.
One of those co-pilots were heard saying, "Turn off that MCAS system," and the pilot, because he was following the protocol that was on the paper, was saying, "That's not it. That's not it." And he was fighting the plane and fighting the plane and fighting the plane, and they all died. Come to find out that if he would have listened to his co-pilot and turned off the MCAS system, because it wasn't part of the protocol of what if this happens, what if this happens, those people could have been alive today. Because the reason why they found out about that MCAS system was because it was a United flight or an American flight, or Southwest, United, and American all had those 737 MAXs, and they were all fighting those planes in the air. And one of them decided, hey, turn off the MCAS system and save lives, and that's how they found out about it. So if they would have listened to the guy based on his emotions, those people would have been alive today.
Okay, you saying he had a bad feeling about it, or he
Yes,
felt
he had
something
a
that was
bad
off,
feeling. He was like,
something that was
if
actually happening
they,
wasn't supposed to be happening.
Boeing had wrote these things. They first of all, they didn't even get him real training. They did a training on an iPad for this new system called MCAS. Okay. And they were following what if this happens, because they have all of these things. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. This, that. Turn off MCAS was never on that list.
Enos, you got something? What you got something about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. But why Aki is talking, I'm thinking to another question I was wanting to pose to the guests. Like, if a doctor operates on you, does something terrible, makes a mistake, and he tells you, "I did this because I went this direction because I felt like I had to do this." I want to ask everybody, how do you hold the doctor accountable, and what do you do? He
Well,
messed up on your
guess what?
body,
The question of the
and
matter
he
is,
says the reason I messed up because I felt my feelings told me to do this. This is what I
but
was
guess
feeling.
what though? What you failing to realize
I
that
just wonder, how do y'all
I'm
hold them
about to tell
accountable?
you right now. Am I alive today because of that decision? That's what you're leaving out. See, because he might have did something based on his feelings that actually saved your life.
What if he didn't say? What if he made things worse? How do you hold them accountable?
Well, you don't know. We don't. That's a variable that we don't know. We don't know.
I mean, it's a made up scenario. So,
but what I'm saying is
this
that we don't know. There's no way for us to know if he's in surgery.
Well, I'm not saying we're not focused on it. No, it's hypothetically. What do you think? How do you, if that case scenario, hypothetically, this happens, makes something worse, or if you're a family member, say if a family member, worst case scenario, how do you hold this doctor
Unfortunately,
accountable?
we live in a litigious society. Unfortunately, and this is how certain doctors get out of practicing and doing what they're doing because of something like this happened where they actually saved your life. You might be in a
Well, that's
compromised
not the
position.
hypothetical. I'm not saying if he saved. I'm saying he actually made something worse. He made it worse. How do you hold him accountable?
Well, this is litigious society, so we just sue him and make him take his license away.
Well, you hold him accountable. Here's the thing, though. You're the one that's accountable because you signed all those consent forms.
You sure did.
Saying you can operate on me, you can do this. Now, if you mess up, if the factual evidence comes back that he didn't follow protocol, then I'm going to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Victoria.
But, yeah.
How you feel about what Candy and Aki said?
Oh my God. I think at the end of the day, like she said, we trust the doctors know what they're doing. We trust that they were educated. We trust the process. We trust it all. We're operating. He's operating on faith too, because even in his own finite mind of saying, "I know everything I know," this person still may not make it. So at the end of the day, it's all based off of feeling. I went to school. I agree with what's going on. I'm gonna practice what's going on. And even to Crystal's thing when she was talking about being a nurse, yes, you're based it on facts and logic, but why are you in this profession? You're in this profession because you love people and you care for these people. You're basing off of feelings. You get up every day, work 12-hour shifts because this is what I feel. I feel I'm going to save the world. I'm going to save this little old lady in her hospital, and I'm going to be the perfect nurse.
Absolutely.
It's based off of feelings. Like, you cannot be in this world and not just have no feelings about things. Like, I would not want you to be my nurse if you came in there and all you had was a checklist and that was it. You had no feelings, no emotions, no comfort, no care, no love, no what? What are you doing?
Thank you, Victoria.
Can we agree? Thank you, Victoria. Can we agree that there is a hierarchy? And if there's a hierarchy, do you guys think that feelings should be on top or logic and reason should be on top? Because I think you guys are saying, or I think you guys feel or are alluding to that if you don't make decisions based off of emotions, that emotions don't matter. And I don't, at least it's not what I'm saying.
No, what we're saying is always follow.
If you have to have one at the top, what do you guys think that the order should be?
No, what we're saying is always follow protocol, but sometimes you got to jump off the street.
Well, yeah, that's
sometimes you got to hit that sidewalk. You can't always. You following protocol can have your ass killed.
There's always an exception to the rule.
Correct.
It's like the GPS system. She's telling me take the past this light, go here, go there. I said, girl, it's a red light. What are you talking about? I cannot just go through that light. I have to make sure that I still have some type of reasoning, understanding, and feelings. I can listen to my GPS and run up on this curve, and because she's telling me go left, go right, do this, do that, back up, girl.
Okay, so what happens when you have that feeling and that feeling is wrong? When your feeling tells you to go against protocol and you turn out wrong, do we factor that in?
You have to.
You have to, yeah.
Okay. So into the answer, are feelings valid? Do we do away with those instances where the feelings led us the wrong way?
But like you said, there's a hierarchy. So like Akai said, start with your logic, and somewhere it has to have some type of feeling and validation in there somewhere. Because at the end of the day, we're not robots. We're not just gonna operate and do what you tell us to do. No, that's not it. That's what Amazon wanted to do. Create robots to grab people's orders and do all this stuff. And then they realized we need people. We need actually people to go in and do the nitty-gritty and do all of that. And so you can't get away from feelings, you know what I'm saying? Even if you do have factual information, logical information, you still need feelings. So
there is a hierarchy. Logic first, feelings second, or feelings through okay.
It's called mitigation, really.
Can you agree with that? Logic first, emotion second.
Yes. It's okay. Emotions can help motivate your decisions. It can motivate you. You shouldn't base it off your emotion, but it can motivate you, inspired. It's good to be inspired. Like Crystal's a nurse, she can be inspired to do that. But making critical decisions off your emotions is not. I know you said this earlier. You said this is how we operate on the Vulcan soapbox, but this is how the world operates. It operates off of sound reasoning, because you can always go back to 2 + 2 is 4. That's logic. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. That's a template we can always go by that is not influenced by our mind. This is outside of space, time, and matter, and that's always reliable. So
reliability is a key word. All right, guys. I know that we probably still have a bunch more to say on this. But we can't stay on this topic no more. We're gonna move on to the next topic. Equally as
maybe this is the last
inflammatory.
topic, I believe. Yeah.
All right.